Hello everyone, my name is Bianca. I am so excited to be chatting to Lynette Noni this morning all about The Blood Traitor, the most recent and final book in the Prison Healer series. So there it is in all its glory. So a huge congratulations on the release of this book and finishing the series. Can you tell us a little bit about what The Blood Traitor is about, what readers can expect?
Yeah, well, firstly, so this book, to answer your question, it's the final book in a trilogy. And so we've had the Prison Healer, then we've had the Gilded Cage, and now we have the finale. And so without going into any spoilers for this final book, we know that from the end of the second book, Kiva is this third book, will open in quite a dark place, not a good place for her mentally, emotionally, physically. And so she has, it's essentially a book where she has to deal with a lot of the consequences of actions that she's made, and she has to kind of wade through those and try to fix things or not fix things, or there's a lot of there's a lot of emotional development for a lot of the characters. There's also a lot of action and adventure. There's a quest in this book. There's the kingdoms are at war now, and there are multiple enemies on multiple fronts, and so it's just kind of in every direction you go there's a problem. And so I like to describe the first and second books as having like action moments, then lull, quiet moments, and action moments, and so it's kind of a balanced pace. But the Blood Traitor, it's just like go, 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 go. So take a breath at the beginning and then dive straight in, and you'll hopefully keep going until you hit the end.
Yeah, you probably won't come up for air through the whole book, so definitely enjoy that breath while you can.
My job is done if that is the case.
It absolutely was. And I mean, like, the action sequences and the plot and the quest was amazing, but it's your characters that completely shine. And what I actually really loved was in the acknowledgements, you fangirled over your own characters.
I did. I had a moment, and I was like, should I delete this? I'm like, no, be your true, authentic self. And
honestly, but I think it shows when you love your characters so much, the reader can feel that, and we love them so much as well. So tell us all your secrets for creating characters. Like, what's your process when you're creating characters?
Yeah, like you said, I just fell in love with these like little people living in my brain. And so I don't know, and especially because it's a third book, I'd had so much time with so many of them that I'd gotten to know their strengths and their weaknesses, and what drove them, and their ambitions and their fears and all these things. There's also a number of new characters in this book, or people who we might have met previously who come into it in a much larger way. And I had so much fun, like, it'll sound bad, but getting to know them. And so as I kind of got to know them, I hopefully led readers on a journey of getting to know them as well. And so it was just purely like, it was like you meet up with a friend for coffee, or an enemy for coffee, or whatever, and you try and like draw little bits out of their personality. And it was probably, it's one of my favorite parts of writing the series was the characters, because so many of them just stole their way into my heart. And especially in this book in particular, so many horrific things happened to the characters that I was like, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. So that was, naughty author kind of thing.
Love it. Yeah, they did go through such a harrowing journey, but you've got to love every minute of it, and it ended really satisfyingly. We can't complain, it was just such a great time to spend with these characters, even though it was super, super hard. Like, all the characters went on this massive emotional journey, Kiva especially, of course. And again, in the acknowledgements, you mentioned that you were also going through a bit of a hard time when writing this book, and I imagine it was just a hard time on its own to write the book. Did your experiences influence the writing process at all?
Yeah, I mean, especially early on, like, it was really, there was a lot of things that kind of hit me all at once. I suddenly had a significantly less amount of time to write this book than I was, that I believed that I would have. So I'm talking 4 to 6 weeks. So very short.
I knew it was like a short amount of time anyway, but that's...
Wow, I did, yeah.
Okay.
Well, it was on an accelerated release schedule, but I thought I had a couple of months, and suddenly like there's a shifting gears that had to change, and then I was like really overwhelmed, and then the pandemic was happening and all these other stuff was happening in my life. I say the pandemic was happening, that's been the case for all 3 of my books, but like it was still happening. and especially and normally all of that is okay. You can kind of compartmentalize. It's what, you know, what I have to do as a job, compartmentalize and just keep going. But especially early on, where Kiva begins this book and her mental state, it was just a really awful, you know, it was awful for me to be going through, you know, all this kind of personal, professional stuff happening in my life. But then my escape, which is to write, was then in an awful place, you know, mentally. It was really, really difficult. And I remember at just one point, it was the middle of the night and I was just having such a hard time writing. And I was just like, everything was going wrong in my own world, but everything was also going really wrong in Kiva's own world. And I was like, I need to get out of this somehow. I need some kind of break, some kind of reprieve, some kind of fighting spirit, both for Kiva and for me, for different reasons. And there's just like 2 words, it's somewhere like on page 30 or something, and it's just where another character says to Kiva, get up. And that was kind of when I was like, get up, keep going, you know, keep surviving, keep hoping. Like the dedication of this book is basically all of that. That was when I stopped and I wrote the dedication, which is like, for anyone who ever wanted to give up but chose to keep going, to keep trying, to keep hoping, to keep surviving, this book is for us. And that was the moment where I kind of just had that. And from that on, I was like, just do it. Just, you know, put everything into this, do what you need to do. See what's going to happen, because I had no idea at that point. My entire plot had like walked off the page, and so I was like, yeah, it was a really, you know, a really pivotal moment in the direction of the book, but also to help me get through it. So yeah, that's a tough one.
Yes, of course. I'm so sorry that you went through all of that, but
part of life.
but at the same time, it's something that I don't know, you could kind of tell. I think it was just written from such a honest place. And I mean, the message throughout all 3 like books as individuals has been just, you're a survivor, keep going. Like that's all you can kind of do. And I think that's incredibly powerful. So to know that you were going, you know, telling yourself that message as well, it's just really important. And I think you could really feel that. And I would never have guessed that this book had been written in such a short amount of time. It's just such the perfect conclusion. Yeah, you were fine.
Well, I mean, I usually, in all honesty, most of my books are written in that amount of time, but it's usually by choice. And I'm kind of that person that like, you know, if I'm told, you know, back when I was at uni and doing assignments and stuff, and if I, you know, I was a last minute kind of assignment writer, you know, the night before I would get it done and I would get really great marks because I would push myself, like, don't do this, anyone watching, give yourself time. But you know, I really thrived under pressure. And with the previous books, I did write them in short windows purely because I was enjoying them so much and wanted to know what happened. But with this book, with everything that had been happening in the lead up to it, I knew I had been hoping for some more time to just sort of sink into it and enjoy the last book, because, you know, it's the last book in the series. I wanted to hang out with the characters for a little bit longer. And yeah, so, but, you know, I'm just so happy with it. I couldn't have, you know, I could have had years and years and years to write it, and I still would have written exactly this book, exactly the way it is. So in the end, I'm just so happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you should be. It's amazing. But as for it being the last book, I mean, like spin-offs and stuff, you know. Just saying.
I had someone else the other day, Phlox can get his own book. And
yeah,
I was like,
oh my gosh, yes.
I mean, Phlox goes on an adventure. He'd have to have, like, you know, there's certain characters that he would absolutely need to have in it. So
yes. Oh my gosh,
he's a little bit codependent, that little thing.
Oh, he's just the highlight, though. I think you could hear everyone screaming when he came onto the page again, you know.
Yeah.
So happy to see
I did.
him.
I was like, I need more Phlox in this
Yes.
series. Like, you know, he's just, yeah, he's adorable.
So
I actually posted this thing on my Instagram just last night, and it's this person trying to walk with like a raccoon like attached to their leg, and I was like, that's Phlox with Jaren. Like, he's just in this with him.
It's just perfect. I really laughed at that. That was so funny when you I said that. I saw it. Was so good.
Yeah.
All right. So in terms of the actual book itself, plot, characters, the fun, like finale of a series, what was the hardest part to get right?
I think I probably agonized the most Oh no, that's a really tough question, because so much of it, you know, there's like the reconciliation between certain characters. There's a lot of very angry people at Kiva and justifiably angry. And so having fulfilling and satisfying ways, like, you know, the happy reader in me was like, just let them all be happy again, like straight away, and there's like, everyone's fine, everyone forgives everyone, and they all go right off into the sunset. But like, that wouldn't have done justice to the story or to the characters. So I had to draw out certain, you know, relationship threads. People had to stay angry for a certain amount of time, and I had to kind of find the perfect timing for that, so that it didn't go on for too long in some cases, then in other cases it wasn't too short. So that was tricky to navigate that, while also juggling like a quest and everything in the background. And the quest itself, you know, I had on the quest is 10 characters. That's a lot of main characters to kind of juggle, while giving them all enough development and screen time that you actually feel connected to all of them. So those are two of the biggest things. But if I had to just pick like a general answer, it'd be like the ending, because I was so, you know, there's how to finish this book in a way that, you know, people screamed at me from the first two books because they end on such horrific cliffhangers. And I was like, you know, and I was like, coming into this one, I feel like, you know, I want a sense of, okay, the whole story is over, like the whole trilogy is over. I want people, you know, at a place of like satisfaction, whether they're happy or sad or whatever, but that fulfillment kind of thing. And so I agonize the most over those kind of final wrap-up scenes from a writing perspective. But yeah, so there was all kinds of different challenges, but you know, that's what made the book what it is.
I can imagine. And it was just great because it was so satisfying, and it ends kind of the way that you want to end, but there's still so many twists and turns and things that I did not see coming at all. Like, I'm not a perceptive reader anyway, but it's like it really kept me on the edge of my seat.
I mean, I think it's because a lot of those twists and turns I didn't see coming. So if they can surprise me, and if I can be like, whoa, then that kind of, it's like, it kind of hopefully comes across that way. Because I feel like anytime I try to plan a plot twist, there's so much foreshadowing beforehand that it's like everyone knows by the time it comes. Whereas if I, you know, have accidental foreshadowing that I'm not even aware of, and then I realize that, oh, I can turn that into this, and then it's like a big surprise to me, then it's a big surprise for you guys. So some of the biggest plot twists in this book I certainly had not planned, and when they came I was like, oh, that's so mean. So,
but they were done so, like, they were done enough where it was still like, oh duh, like of course that happened, you know.
Well, that's what I love. I love that when you can go and do a reread, you can just see every single thread and be like, how did I miss this? But obviously for the first read, I want it to be, you know, a surprise and punch in the guts kind of thing when it happens.
Best part of being a reader as well, I feel. So the last time we spoke, which was for the Gilded Cage only like 6 months ago, it was still in 2022. I asked you what you hoped young readers would get out of the Gilded Cage, and you answered it so beautifully, but you did think that all three books sort of had to be read as one. Now that it's finished and it's so close to being out, what are you hoping that people take away from the entire series?
I guess, like, I mean, it sounds so gimmicky, but like, there's a few things, but like one of them is like that survivor mentality and that fighting spirit, and just knowing that, you know, today might be awful, but tomorrow will always have the potential to be a better day. So don't give up, don't give in, whatever you're going through, just keep surviving, just take it minute by minute. And I guess the parallel hope is that, well, exactly that hope, it's this theme of hope, that there will always be, you know, there's always going to be challenges, there's always going to be darkness in our lives. Hopefully none of us will end up in a death prison. Hopefully none of us will make some hideous enemies and some terrible mistakes and all kinds of, you know, well, actually, well, the thing is, we will make mistakes. That's part of being human. And so, you know, I think I just wanted to bring across that message that there is, you know, there's always hope, and there will always be light to every bit of darkness, and all those things that I want readers to feel, and to just bring it back to that central theme of just keep on going and keep trying, keep hoping, keep believing, and keep going forward. So,
absolutely. And again, I love that that message is so prevalent throughout all three books. It's not just like you finish the last book and you're like, oh, that's what it was about all along, kind of thing, you know, like it's so strong throughout all three in different ways. So yeah, it's really beautiful, especially in the these times. You know,
Yes.
that message is important. For sure.
These times that seem to be non-ending.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can't close the last page.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. So, if you can talk a little bit about it, what's next for you?
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, so because these books came out so quickly, you know, they all three of them within the last 14 months. And so because of that, and especially with the previous two and with the accelerated release schedule and all the deadlines, I kind of had a moment recently when I realized that I never stopped to really celebrate or appreciate them or be grateful for everything that's happened. You know, even when they came out, it was like, right, do this, check this off the list, got to get this done, got to get back into writing or editing or whatever. Like I missed it all. And so I've been trying to be a bit more deliberate coming into this release to celebrate it and to stay in the moment and to just give myself that room and that space to, you know, to recognize that I now have another trilogy out in the world. So my immediate plans, I'm just doing that. I have the global release coming up in a fortnight. And so once that's done, I'm going to take a bit of a break and then it's back into the writing cave for me.